Doing biology experiments in space is not easy. India is conducting several biology experiments at the International Space Station as part of the Axiom 4 mission, which I sometimes called Mission Akash Ganga. And some of these experiments will be done by Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla at the International Space Station. I have with me Dr. Rajesh Gokhale. He's a biologist, secretary of the Department of Biotechnology, and some of the experiments on biology are being spearheaded by his department. Thanks a lot for speaking to me, Dr. Rakesh. What are these first baby steps of doing biology in space?
I think this is a fascinating time, right? I mean, one of the key aspects of life sciences or biology is adaptability. And the ones experiments that are planned in the space are the kind of adaptations that we have never tested and tried. And this is the microgravity feeling. You can try to simulate it, but you can't achieve that target. So this is like a floating lab in the space that is going to really recreate how biological adaptations can be futuristic in its goals and its various functions and aims. That is what we are trying to look at.
So is this a first step? Because we first have Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla doing these experiments at International Space Station. We wanted Bharatiya Antariksh Station and then an Indian on the moon. So these are first step towards having a full-fledged astrobiology or space biology program in India?
Yeah, I think this is a wonderful initiative. I mean, we are just beginning this journey. Let's just say this, very, very clearly, because as we start these, experiments to be done over there, the complexity of experiments will become better. Our understanding of analysis will become better. Our ability to execute them has also to become refined as well, actually. So, for example, there are several experiments in this space time.
Let's go over one by one the experiments which are happening. So let's start, because there are in all 7 experiments.
Yeah.
So let's start with the ones which the Department of Biotechnology is kind of shouldering the responsibility for, one by one.
Yeah, so I think the Department of Biotechnology has 3 main experiments that are being identified. They are from the Delhi and Bangalore lab, but now it's going to happen in a flying lab at 28,000 square kilometer area of lab.
It's 28,800 is the velocity. It's a football field size lab. Correct. It's in orbit.
In an orbit of that,
Correct.
exactly.
Correct.
So it's an orbit about, I was just looking at how far away this is from the Earth, actually. But we've never done these experiments there, right? And so the excitement is super.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the first key experiments is to do with the muscle cells. See, as we all understand, the skeletal component of our body is very, very important, not just for movement, but even for every organ to function. And these skeletal muscles are the very, very critical component where they require stem cells growth on a constant renewal basis, such that you can maintain these muscles at an active form. When you go to this microgravity, there is a kind of lethargy that sets in. This laziness.
There is it's weightlessness.
There's laziness there. The muscles are not feeling the pressure to be able to do this. And so this lethargy leads to a kind of completely new reconfiguration of these systems. That is what we assume. However, we know that muscle mass does get, muscle and bone mass, both of them do get reduced at that period of time. So the question that we are asking now is the capability of stem cells to regenerate under these conditions are getting altered. And these experiments will be done over there, and they will be then compared with the cells, human cells, muscle cells that are being tested out in the lab. And then you understand the difference.
Something in space and something on the ground.
Exactly.
And which institution is doing this?
So this is an InStem Institute at Bangalore, actually. This is stem cell and regenerative medicine, actually.
Okay. And this is in Bangalore?
It's a Bangalore-based institute.
Okay. And this experiment will test how muscle cells or muscle stem cells perform in space and would contribute finally to some astronaut health issues?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the couple of other experiments that are planned are intervention strategies as well. What really happens in muscle cells is our mitochondria, which is an organelle, is very, very important. Now, this is the energy maintenance of your organelle that maintains the
This is the
energy.
powerhouse of the
the
cell.
powerhouse of the cell. It maintains the energy for the entire systems. Now, this mitochondria dysfunction is known to be one of the factors that drives this disability in terms of muscle mass. Now, we are using two chemicals that are known to improve the mitochondrial functions actually. Dihydrofolate as well as the amino acid, which is a thiol containing amino acid actually, which is also used to be able to do this. So can we supplement these, and to understand whether we are able to regenerate mitochondrial function, that we will again compare and test it out at Earth. We know that happens.
Sure.
We want to understand whether the same thing will happen in the space, and if so, these can then provide completely new dimensions of how one can recoup earlier in the space flights for long space.
And also maybe it could help in keeping treatment for muscular dystrophy and other diseases like that.
Of course, you're absolutely right. I mean, muscle degeneration is one of the key cause of our aging.
Correct.
And sarcopenia or cachexia, what you call cachexia when it's a disease-based condition, and sarcopenia as you age old, one of the key aspects is degenerative muscles. And if we understand this whole interesting paradigm, we are bringing new solutions to the earth actually, and this is going to be transformative.
So you think Shubhanshu Shukla from the International Space Station will bring back a magic bullet for Pallava Bagla as he ages and his muscles don't waste?
I believe so. I think this is a huge opportunity, and I think it's transformative, and the understandings can get translated very, very quickly actually. And
sure. Now, what is the other experiment? You have two Delhi-based labs which are doing an experiment.
Yeah, so I think the other very exciting experiment is of growing edible microalgae. Now, this is an experiment that is being done by International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology, a Delhi-based lab.
ICGEB in Delhi.
ICGEB, shortly called ICGEB. Now, microalgae has been routinely used as a food in various food additives actually. What we are trying to do is we are taking 3 species of these microalgae, and we are trying to understand how do they adapt when they grow there in the conditions of microgravity and radiations actually that we look at. And it is very important to understand, because what this microalgae does is it utilizes carbon dioxide because it has a photosynthetic capabilities. Sure. It utilizes carbon dioxide and forms food from it and releases oxygen. So in a way, it's a plus in all the bases. Sure. Where you look at
sure.
it.
You need to remove carbon dioxide there. You need to generate oxygen.
Correct.
So it's going to help in both aspects. And maybe in Gaganyaan, as our astronauts go, they could use a bioregenerator like this?
Absolutely. In place of zeolites, you never know that microalgae may become the central to it, and you can then eat it as and when you want, because it keeps growing with time and you can utilize this capacity. So I think these are kind of really forward-looking experiments that have been designed, and of course with the help of both ISRO and DBT's cooperation, which has been really growing. And I'm very happy to say that as part of BioE3 policy, one of our mandate that was given to us was to work with ISRO and Space Agency to develop biomanufacturing capabilities. And this is as you rightly said in the beginning, baby steps, but it's a baby steps in a way that we have never done before.
Correct.
Actually.
And we have a long roadmap till 2040. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given a roadmap till 2040. So first step somewhere we had to take, and we are taking. Now, which is the third experiment? Which DBT is spearheading?
Yeah, the third experiment is rather again interesting with the bacteria called cyanobacteria. Now, cyanobacteria are known to recycle nutrients, and they are used in the wastewater bodies and other places to actually recycle nutrients. Now, the concept here is that human urine contains a lot of urea.
Correct.
And urea chemical contains nitrogen as one of the major component of it. Now, the recycling of nitrogen is a very, very important paradigm actually in this aspect. So you want to see how does this bacteria grows on nitrates, which is a common inorganic source, and a urea, which is an organic source, and to compare and understand how these two nitrogen assimilation will happen in these two cyanobacteria species that we are carrying over. So this is a way of recycling whatever waste that is produced into a useful material. And therefore, I think this is again a very, very exciting project to understand.
So waste to wealth in space.
Absolutely. This is waste to wealth as much as one can think of, because I think in that small space, you have to utilize every little aspect of things for the future.
For my viewers, I should tell you, at the International Space Station, it is said, yesterday's coffee is going to be today's coffee because the urine is completely recycled and used at the International Space Station. So maybe some of these experiments by India, which is generating wealth from waste, could contribute towards our better understanding. There are some more experiments. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, I think there are some other experiments as well happening where we're carrying seeds of 4 different kinds up there, and we allow them to grow there and then come back and understand, are there any variability in terms of their growth, because these seeds
that is the sprouting experiment, which is growing fenugreek, which is methi, and also growing green gram, which is gram. But they are only growing it; they're not eating it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be brought back and tested.
I think then you do experiments on that and understand how these growth patterns and properties are altered in these conditions.
Sure, and maybe how microorganisms grow on it in space, because that could be different.
And I think the beauty is in biology. I mean, for example, if you look at now what happens in the microgravity conditions, there is no up and down, right? The cells are floating in the air.
Sure.
And the fluids are not hanging around anywhere. It has a complete different property. So you never know what will happen to these substances. Of course, there are other experiments that have been done previously which gives us some guidelines.
Sure.
But I think this is an exciting times for us to really understand how we can expand our thought process of adaptability in a biological systems. Actually.
Sure. There's also one experiment where they are looking at how eye function performs at human screens in space. It's not a DBT related experiment, and there is another one where they are carrying seeds in space for different crop varieties, but they are just being carried and brought back to see how it has been done. And I'm told this has been done many times earlier, but these are Indian varieties to test them. So there is some Indian signature on them.
I think it's very important for us to do these experiments. Reproducibility of experiments is also very important in different ways, right? And that's the other component in it. But the eye one is also very important, because I think a lot of people, one of the common feature that earlier astronauts have faced is the problem defects in eyes that get developed.
Correct.
So from that point of view, it's a very critical experiment to look at of how vision actually can be modulated through this purpose.
Yeah, but I'm presuming past 25 years there's continuous habitation on space. So astronauts have used computer screens continuously, and we probably well understand. But yes, we are trying to understand from our perspective.
Exactly.
There is also one experiment on water bears or tardigrades, which are small organisms from Bangalore which are being sent up to space. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting experiment. You're trying to understand their capability of laying eggs and to understand how reproduction cycle would get impacted as we go along there. Reproduction is a complex process, right? It involves a variety of organs to come and work together, the physiological changes that happen. It's a very cool little experiment to see how does these things work. How will the egg come out? Will the egg hatch out or not? I don't know actually exactly what is going to happen there.
True.
But these are kind of, you never know what will happen, right? Suddenly the egg may suddenly hatch out there actually because of the different kind of conditions that are there.
No, we are so used to gravity. We live in gravity. We understand everything, biology, by way of having gravity around us. When you have no gravity, things could be very different.
Absolutely.
And anything else you can tell me how this could lead to complex or simplified biomanufacturing for India as part of our big Bio E3 policy, which Prime Minister Narendra Modi is pushing for?
I think this opens up a completely different dimension to understand. See, often we try and perturb biological systems to try and see what are the changes or what are the new areas that we can bring in. Now, for example, look at the algae. Now, algae is very commonly used now to trap carbon dioxide, actually, right? And carbon dioxide fixing, flue gas that comes out of steel plants, that comes out of all these various coal plants and all power generation sector. We are using that right now. We have not completely deployed biological solutions. Now, these opens up such a wonderful opportunity. If we understand This is the changes in metabolism that happens when you have this kind of carbon dioxide levels available. It clearly gives you a completely new ways of tackling problems. And that's where the whole biomanufacturing solutions are going to come from. These are all inbred solutions. You test them out, and everything, as you rightly said, starts in a smaller way, but emerges into a big picture, which is kind of completely transforms the whole scenario of it, actually.
So DBT getting into very exciting times in space.
I think this cross-cultural sciences is just emerging as a very significant part of our country's progress. And having Department of Biotechnology set up in one of the unique department, not many countries have it, mind
The
you.
first biotech department of the world in any country. I remember when I first reported it.
Yeah.
So,
And then there's still not very many, but I think it's such a vibrant place, such a vibrant department with institutions, scientists doing fantastic place. And you just said this biotechnology for economy, environment, employment, the policy approved by cabinet, launched by honorable minister, actually is a game changer for the country. And this sets the new paradigms. These experiments will set up completely new paradigms of how we will look at, from the point of view of biological systems, of how they change, transform, and makes difference, actually.
and we also need to understand human biology, because we'll have Indian astronauts going to space and maybe for long durations. So DBT will have a bigger role in some human biology experiments at some point.
Yeah, I think these new frontiers of health, sustainability, and resilience is obviously the future of the world, actually. And all the world is looking at biotechnological applications, how they're going to solve all the problems of future human complexities, including waste generation, variety of problem of climate change, or excess material consumption. Now, all these three require solutions that are integrated into our present experiments that we are doing on space.
Sure.
So these are our cumulative impact they will have, and I am pretty much sure this is going to be transformative.
Sure. We saw DBT spearheading many things, whether it was GM mustard or whether it was COVID vaccines. So under your leadership, we are seeing space biology come into blossoming stage.
Well, it's fantastic. I mean, I believe there are, as I said, there are cross-cultural areas, very many. In fact, I was just visiting, just to give you an idea, I was just visiting, sports medicine, right? How much it is getting transformed.
Sure.
The cross-cultural region of this can make impact on every aspect of life. So that's what one wants to do right now. And I think that is where DBT is heading out to be. And I think the future is not just biology, engineering, and other areas of real sciences that are actually can connect together and will provide solutions for our Viksit Bharat, which is what all of us are working towards at the best possible ways.
Thanks a lot for speaking to me, Rajesh. Always a pleasure. So that was Dr. Rajesh Gokhale telling us about India's first forays into space biology. There is only one Earth which we call home for the biology we understand. The space station is one home outside Earth which has been occupied for the last 25 continuous years. Now, India is doing experiments at the International Space Station, and Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla is going to contribute to that knowledge. First baby steps, but then a long journey begins. In New Delhi, Pallava, Bagla for NDTV.